On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of Patrick Roy are you? I'm an 11 out of 10, and the literal translation of Roy is king. Part of the reason I love him so much is that we are very similar, and my guess is the book on Patrick Roy would be very similar to what the book is on me. He's uncontrollable. My dad would be proud of that fact.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Happy holidays and welcome on inside a very special edition of the Rod Pedersen Show coming your way on the Game Plus television network, on the radio in Atlanta where they're big World Juniors fans, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live. It's your boy RP here, and joining us from Toronto is your boy DD, Darren Moose DuPont. It's our annual World Junior Special, and welcome on in, Darren. Some of the guests going to join us today. TSN Director of Scouting, Craig Button. Also, James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, as there is a distinct Moose Jaw Warriors flavor. No Regina Pats flavor, but there's a big Warriors flavor. And Sam Cosentino, right, Clark? Sammy Cosentino will be with us. Yeah, to preview this World Juniors, and which is going on in Sweden. And Darren, let me ask you this. I have asked a lot of people what their excitement level is, scale 1 to 10 for this year's tournament. Let's just start there. Given the fact that it's in Sweden, not in Canada, what are you 1 to 10 for this tourney?
I'm like a 9.5, maybe a 10, maybe an 11.
Ooh.
I get more geeked up for the World Juniors when it's somewhere like Sweden than I do if it's in Canada, because my childhood is full of memories waking up at stupid hours, 5, 6, 7 a.m. to watch these games in the dark in front of the lit Christmas tree and get some, warm cocoa, breakfast cereal, and watch the World Juniors in the morning in my PJs. So I'm excited. The Boxing Day game, Eastern, will be at 8:30, I believe, in the morning. So I'll be back in Sask. It'll be 7:30 a.m. That, to me, is perfect. We're looking forward to it.
Well, I like it when it's on Canadian soil. So, and the reason I ask, it's a fun question because Scott Laughlin was with us prior to Christmas, Sirius XM NHL radio, and he said he's 10 out of 10. I'll put mine at about a 7 out of 10, only because we don't have a Connor Bedard on the team. We don't have a Regina Pat on the team. And that reminds me, because this is a World Junior Special, we are really historically junior hockey guys. People, you can write in, Sober Carpenter text line 902-518-3033, or if you're watching on YouTube, write it in the stream there. Who's the greatest World Junior player from your junior team in history? We're going to get into that with James Gallo later on, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. For the longest time with the Regina Pats, it would have been Jordan Eberle, or it was Jordan Eberle for the longest time with the Regina Pats, but now it's Connor Bedard. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. That's just the way that it is. And let's talk about this year's team and the pluses and the negatives, if you don't mind. The cuts were made, obviously, prior to Christmas. December the 13th. And Producer Clark, you can throw them up. I'm going to read the Wire story on it. Macklin Celebrini was on a plane to Sweden. The 17-year-old presumptive number 1 pick in next summer's NHL draft was named to Canada's 22-player roster announced by Hockey Canada. The smooth skating center from Vancouver sits second in the NCAA scoring. He's part of a group led by 3 teammates with NHL experience, forwards Owen Beck and Fraser Minton, and defenseman Tristan Luneau, set to compete at the World Juniors in Sweden. The other forwards are Owen Allard, and there's a look at him, Easton Cowan, Nate Danielson, Jordan Dumais, Connor Geekie, Karser Reckhoff, Matthew Savoy, Matthew Wood, and Braden Yager. The cuts, by the way, were Devin Barkey, Jagger Furcus, Paul Ludwinski, and Marcus Vidicek. The defensemen, Oliver Bonk, Jake Furlong, Maverick Lamoureux, Denton Mateychuk, Tanner Molendyke, and Noah Warren, making up the remainder of the defense corps. Canada cut blue liners Michael Buchinger, Jorian Donovan, and Ty Nelson. And here are your goalies, as you see: Samuel St. Hilaire, Scott Retzlaff, and Mathis Russo. Being sent home was Dominic DeVincentis. That is your Team Canada roster. And in a second, if we have time, because we don't have a lot of time here, we'll get through the pools and the groups. but it is not a who's who, Darren. It's not a who's who. One returning member of last year's World Junior winner in Halifax winning team, Owen Beck. Your thoughts on this roster going in?
Yeah, it's not. But oftentimes, I mean, usually there's that cornerstone player or two that have been hyped up. One issue is we're not seeing the main networks carry the junior games throughout the year to hype up these kids, right? So we're not seeing TSN broadcasting CHL games. I know they've had a few on TSN Plus on the digital platform. That's cool. But nevertheless, there's always a couple of players that become household names once you get through the first couple of games. Geeky will probably be one of them. We love Braden Yager, the Moose Jaw Warrior kid who was always kind of playing number 2 to Connor Bedard. He's another name that you can draw that storyline around. Celebrini, another player who's probably the high-end skill guy on this list and a top NHL draft pick. And then on the back end, I'm excited to see Saskatoon Blade defenseman and NHL prospect Tanner Molendyk play. He's a Predators prospect, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a fun defenseman to watch, plays well at both ends of the ice. He could be a top 4 defenseman for Canada that could be fun to watch.
So those are some initial thoughts on the Team Canada roster that is already in Sweden and participating in the 2024 World Juniors. Clark, if you don't mind, you can throw up Pool A, Pool B. As we look at the schedule, there you go, Canada's pool. Yeah, Pool A, Canada, along with Sweden, Finland, Germany, and Latvia. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a scout, and we could talk to the scouts and say what's the tougher pool, but A, they're always tough, and B, you kind of got to beat them all. You got to beat them all in your own pool, and then you got to advance, and then you got to beat the best from the other pool, Darren. So all I've heard, and we're going to get into this with our analysts later on in the program, Craig Button, James Gallo, Sam Cosentino, is that USA is the toughest team. And, they open up against Norway. Canada opens up against Finland. I don't know. I'll say it again. You're sitting around the Christmas tree, everybody, with your eggnog. Take a drink every time Rod says he was the voice of the World Juniors 2012 in Edmonton. But I was there. It doesn't, to me, matter. Just like I don't care what your schedule is. In the regular season, you still got to beat the best. So that's my take on these pools and who's in it. We expect to win it, right? So you got to beat everybody.
Yeah, and the big game for Canada, I believe, is, Clark, you can correct me, I think it's the 30th when they play Sweden, the day before New Year's Eve. Or it could very well be on the 31st, but I think it's the 30th. Sweden is one of the better teams. Obviously, they usually are.
December 29th.
The 29th for Sweden?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Sweden is actually loaded up and is, one of the better teams. Back-to-back, I think, silvers at the World Under-18s. They have one of their best teams that they've had in a while, trying to get over that hump of being really good in the round robin and really poor in the medal round. So that'll be an interesting game. But it's another year without Russia in this tournament. And forget about everything that's happened politically and internationally. These are hockey tournaments for me, and I miss Russia not being a part of it because it's such a good rivalry with Canada and they're such a great hockey country.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I'm just kind of getting used to them not being there. But I'll say this. We've cut our teeth, rightly or wrongly, on doing things a little differently. It is the Rod Pedersen show, as you see. So here's my angle. Not like we need a reason to watch, but here's something that I will be watching for this World Juniors. It's that what I would like to call the Winnipeg flavor with Connor Geeky and Matthew Savoy on it. And last year, at this time, it was that massive Winnipeg snub. We all know about it. And when the team Canada goes on to win the gold, you can't say Canada did anything wrong. But there was those 3 members of the Winnipeg Ice who weren't even invited to camp, let alone have a chance to make the team. Matthew Savoy, Connor Geeky, and Zach Benson. Now, Benson's in the NHL of Buffalo. The stories that I read was that a spot was going to be held for him if the Sabres ever decided to send him down, which with what he's doing in Buffalo, I don't know why they would. And now the Ice aren't even in Winnipeg anymore. They're in Wenatchee. So I don't know. Is it a missed opportunity for Winnipeg hockey fans to watch their guys? I'd like to think they still feel connected to those guys. But is it a year too late? Is it too little too late? Or is that a story? worth following in this tournament?
They should feel connected. I know it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. I mean, it is a year too late because they're not representing the Wild. And when they go on to the tournament and they're on TSN, they're going to say from the Wenatchee Wild, right? They're not going to say from the Winnipeg Ice. That's unfortunate. So it'll be interesting. They're going to hold that spot. If Zach Benson or, another pro doesn't get sent down, who gets that 13th forward spot? That'll be something worth following. But yeah, it's not going to be the same for Winnipeg this year as it could have been last year.
No, it's just a story to watch, and we're watching all those players. And a quick one, we got less than a minute, but we had a viewer write in and say, how come Connor Bedard's not on this team? He's eligible. You want to take that one?
Connor's done everything he needs to do at the World Juniors. His junior career is over. Connor is an NHL player now. That's the story.
And it has changed. They don't, I was talking with Serena about that the other day. The NHL teams don't send their players anymore like they used to for a myriad reasons. Primarily, I'd like to think because they don't want them to get hurt, but who knows? That's their business. But in this case, Chicago would have never sent Connor Bedard. To use your term, been there, done that. Canada's highest scoring forward ever. See you later. Go Hawks, go. Moose, enjoy the hockey. Thanks for this.
Hey, thank you.
Our annual World Juniors preview continues after this break. You're watching on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Welcome back, everybody. It is our annual World Juniors preview, and what would it be without our good friend Craig Button from TSN joining us? Their director of scouting, many World Juniors for him, and this one across the pond. Craig, I appreciate it. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all the rest. How many World Juniors is this for you, by the way?
Well, the first one I ever went to was the 1978 World Junior Tournament. So it was in Montreal. My dad was running Central Scouting, and the first game was on Christmas Day. So it was on December 25th, 1977. We had our Christmas morning, then off to the Forum we went. And guess who was playing for Team Canada? Wearing number 9, Wayne Gretzky. He had a hat trick, 3 goals and 2 assists versus Czechoslovakia, the former Czechoslovakia. And I remember it so clearly because we had heard so much. I was only like 13 years old at the time. But I remember, we'd heard so much about Gretzky. And, obviously from the time he was 9 or 10, we knew that we had this prodigy. But I remember he scored this fantastic goal where he came in and he juked and then he danced and then he deked and he went on the back end. I remember coming home and going to the outdoor rink and showing everybody, you got to see what he did. We're all trying to practice this move. Of course, today, everybody's got video. That thing would be all flashed across the internet within seconds, right? But I have to come, and I'm going to tell you, Rod, in my own mind, I thought I did it better than Gretzky.
How about that? Well, I'm just going to ask you, can you still see it in your mind? Can you still see that
clearly
goal?
Clearly, clear as a bell, I can see it. Where our seats were, I mean, we had season tickets to the Montreal Canadiens, so where our seats were, it was like right out, like we were I don't know, 8 rows up, and so you could see how he came at the net and everything, and one of those things that's forever etched in my memory. And certainly, Wayne was only 16 years old, and Billy Gerlago had broken his leg, so that's how Wayne ended up on the team. Yeah, he only had the tournament in scoring.
Yeah, well, there was a youngster come along that broke all those records in Mr. Bedard, which we'll get to. Well, and actually, that might be a good place to start this right now, Craig, is that this tournament without Bedard, to me, it kind of seems to lack a little star power, although all those snubbed Winnipeg players are there now on this team. It's too bad the ice are gone from Winnipeg. But what's your story of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So how do you feel about this year's team?
Well, here's what it is. When you have a Connor Bedard coming to the tournament, I mean, bottom line, that's as big a star power as you can get. And the beautiful thing about Connor was the spotlight was bright on him. And as John Paddock told me when he was coaching Connor, he said, he's been under the spotlight since he was 12, and there's no spotlight too bright where this young man doesn't shine. We're seeing it in the NHL, the World Junior last year. I mean, he was brilliant. And this tournament, you're right, doesn't have that. Doesn't have a Connor Bedard. This will be more a focus on some different players. Macklin Celebrini is a really good player. I mean, in my mind now, kind of really set himself apart as the top player in the 2024 draft. And certainly no surprise that he made Team Canada. I mean, he was so good during the selection camp and leading into this tournament. But it's not Connor Bedard. And, we have to appreciate the Connor Bedards when they are in this tournament. And then we appreciate the tournament for, the suspense that it gives us, the great hockey that it gives us. And it's going to give us some players that we know and we knew their names, but we certainly don't, we might not have seen them as stars in the making. And that's what this tournament also does. It's not only about the star power coming into the tournament, it's as the tournament unfolds, watching some of the players. Logan Cooley's a great example. I mean, he was a 3rd overall pick. And at last year's tournament, I mean, he was a star, and people saw it clearly. Lane Hudson, who returns to the tournament this year for Team USA, the Montreal Canadiens draft pick. A lot of excitement for him. I mean, he entering this year's tournament, he's arguably the best defenseman in the tournament. Could end up as the defenseman of the tournament. And so, there's going to be players over the course of the days ahead where we're going to see some eyes opened up to how bright their futures are for some of these players.
And that's what one of the great things that TSN does for this tournament is king makers and star makers. The players do it, but you guys cover it and profile it to the world, and it's great. But so I got to, as you see, I'm sitting here in Florida, and I don't think it's just because I'm in Florida. The coverage I've heard going in, or the prediction going in from people, is that USA is the favorite. Or would I just always hear that in USA? I don't know. Is that a legitimate prediction that the Americans are favored in this tournament or no?
Yeah, I would put the Swedes and the Americans as the co-favorites. The last two U18 tournaments, which is a high-level tournament for players under 18. Sweden won it in 2022, beating the USA. USA won it in 2023, beating Sweden. And when you start to rewind the clock a little bit, the 2022 gold medal for the Swedes, that's their group of players here that now come into this tournament with a lot of confidence, a lot of maturity. And this tournament requires you to have maturity to win it. And the Swedes have that. And on home ice, it's nice to have a team that can contend for the gold medal. And there's no question that the Swedes are in that category. The USA are right there. And, if I had to separate the two, Rod, as the tournament is underway, I would look at the two teams in this regard. I would say that the USA has really strong goaltending, and they have an edge over Sweden there. Sweden has an edge on the blue line over the USA. The USA blue line's a little bit smaller. And, you got to win a gold medal in this tournament, you got to play 7 games in 10 days. The games get harder as the tournament goes on. And I think that could be the undoing of Team USA. Up front, I think both countries have some really top players, but that's why I have them as co-favorites right there. And as you move into this tournament with the background of knowing what this age group of players has done, really successful, and that makes them at the top of the list. And certainly, Canada goes into every tournament with a chance to win, and it's no different this year.
Well, what's interesting about that is you mentioned it being in Sweden. The World Juniors I've been involved with have obviously all been in Canada. So is there less pressure? Is it a relief for Canada that it's not in Canada? Or how do they deal with that when it's not in across the pond specifically?
I love that observation because, when you're the two-time defending gold medalists, I think the internal pressure to win, the players, there's only one returning player, Owen Beck. And so you look at the opportunity to try to build on that, and you don't want to be the team that doesn't carry forth the gold medal succession. That being said, I think that with a tournament in Europe, I think I don't know if the pressure is any less internally, but I think that externally it's a lot less. Gothenburg is a great city. It's a great hockey city. It's a great winter city in Sweden. And I think that Canada playing in that pool against Sweden, against Finland, I think that serves them really well to get ready for the quarterfinal, because that's when you got to be at your best. There was a time when, you lose a game and early in the tournament, you're, oh, geez, I can't believe it. Well, Canada lost their first game last year to Czechia, and then they carried forth. And I think it helps teams to play against really good competition early on in the tournament. And I think that the spotlight isn't as bright on Team Canada in Europe as it would be in Canada. I remember last year after the first game, oh boy, what does this mean for Canada? What does this mean for Canada? They're not going to have to deal with that. And I think that the pressure that the players put on themselves to win is always going to be there. But some of the external pressure that they have no control over will not be there.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was in Edmonton in the summer tournament, and I saw Bedard like it was the Beatles. It was like the Beatles. Everybody's going crazy over Bedard. It wasn't just his family there. It was the fans. And then I can't imagine what it was like in the Maritimes last year. I wasn't there, but I watched all the games that you were a part of. And they won't have to deal with that over in Sweden. And it's not just about Bedard. It's just about the fans. I would think they'd be a little more focused as a team. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, they will be, and that's also you can just come into your own group and you can just kind of build out your game from that, and you're right, and the demands from the media aren't the same. There's not as much Canadian media over in Sweden or in a European tournament, so the demands on the players are a little bit less outside of their playing, and certainly that becomes a factor in staying fresh and mentally fresh. There's a fatigue that sets in during this tournament, physically and mentally. And I think that having some of those things that aren't as significant, aren't as, I don't want to say excessive because that would be the wrong way to put it, but aren't as demanding, I think helps the team and helps the players.
Well, it's just interesting what you say. They put up with all that, and Connor himself. Look, the cell phone age, the hysteria, and all the rest, and he still set the record for points all time, right? And in-game, he still did it despite all that. That's how great this kid is, but clearly I love him. We don't have a lot of time left, but I got to ask you this, man. I was watching the games last year here, and you weren't on the early ones. And my friends at TSN said, I was Ryan Vardy, actually, camera guy, said that you just had an absolute snafu getting to Maritimes with travel last year. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember, flying out. Here's a couple of things I remember. Christmas at home has not been something that's happened for me very often over the years, very rarely, because, we're always heading to the tournament because it starts on the 26th. And what I remember is that, like, I was getting up early on the morning of the 24th to arrive on the 25th, and I got a note. And the note was, okay, your plane's been delayed for 3 hours. And I knew right then and there, because of the travel and because of the weather conditions in Eastern Canada, it was the day was beginning. At 12 noon that day, we had exhausted every opportunity, and it was just like, not leaving till tomorrow. We're here today. That's the way it's going to work, and work it did. And when you get to and then the weather didn't clear. Actually, I was leaving on the morning of the 25th. I was going to arrive that early evening on the 25th. So I got to spend Christmas at home, and I got a call. I think it was around 4:00 in the afternoon, Rod, and they said, can you go through Winnipeg? Can you get to Winnipeg? Like, we got a flight to get you to Winnipeg. It gets into Winnipeg at 1 a.m. in the morning. There's a flight at 5 a.m. to Toronto. We'll get you to Moncton. You'll land at 11:10. We'll have somebody to pick you up, and you'll be ready to call the game at 12 noon. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to answer this? And I said, so you want me to get stuck in Winnipeg, do you? With a lot less options to get out of there. And our wonderful travel agent, Madeline, says to me, she goes, good point. And I just started out the next day, got there, saw the last game on the first day. Dave Reed stepped in and does a phenomenal job. So it wasn't like we were shorthanded. But it was funny how everybody hey, let's get you there, let's get you there. There's certain places you don't want to get stuck, Rod. And some of those places. Winnipeg on December 25th with storms brewing through Canada, not a place you want to be stuck in. Because I might have not got out till the 29th.
I know. You'd have been literally not gotten out. You've been buried under snow. And I don't remember where or why I ran into Ryan Vardy, but he told me that story. And for those that don't know, long time fantastic camera guy for TSN told me, he's like, Craig was over here, his bags were over there. That might be another story, getting separated from your baggage. But speaking of those Christmases, I'll never forget Les Jackson, yours and my dear friend, leaving my parents' house on Christmas Day. I said, where are you going? He goes, I'm flying to Finland for the World Juniors. And I'll never forget going, nope, not for me. So God bless you guys that do it. And we only got a minute left. I'm assuming you will be in Sweden.
Oh, I'm in Sweden. There's no question about that. Leaving on the 22nd. Oh, yeah. Left on the 22nd. So, everything goes good. Like, you go there. It's we have a wonderful group of people, Rod. that work, and from all over the world. We have lots of Swedes working with us, Latvians that work with us that are great at it, and obviously lots of Canadians moving over there. The NHL Network is covering it too. So we have lots of people, and not only people that are great at their job. You talk about Ryan Vardy, everybody's good at their job, but wonderful people, and that care about the tournament, want to really do their best to give the tournament back to the people. I mean, it's a holiday tradition in Canada. We all know that it is, and that's our tradition, being together with everybody. Once we leave, you're always disappointed about leaving and not being able to spend Christmas at home. But once you get with our TSN family, with our TV families from around the world, very special.
And made it very special, absolutely. Craig, happy holidays. Break a leg. We're watching all the time, as you know. Thanks for this.
Happy New Year.
Our World Juniors preview continues right after this brief pause. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, where we are Atlanta's NHL show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Welcome back, everybody. It is our World Junior Special. We do it every year, and thanks for joining us as we get ready for this year's World Junior Hockey Championships in Sweden. And we're going to keep the fun rolling with the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, James Gallo, the pride of Strasbourg, Saskatchewan. Hey, JG, happy holidays, my man. How you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Rod. I know, obviously, a little bit better for you down there than it is for up here. Always a white Christmas here in Saskatchewan. So, but not good for the knees.
I love it.
But you know what? We're having fun.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hope you had a great Christmas break, and I know that junior hockey, you have a good break before Christmas, but you get back at it not that long after Christmas. But that also coincides with the World Juniors, and maybe we should start with this. The Warriors have a very big imprint on this Team Canada. For those that don't know, will there be more people watching the World Juniors at Moose Jaw this year because of your guys?
Very likely. I mean, I think anytime that you have a guy from your club team and from your community playing in the World Junior Hockey Championships, it's special, right? I mean, Rod, you know what it was like when Jordan Eberle was playing for the Regina Pats and then playing and had that big goal for Team Canada. You know, for us guys like, you know, Brett Howden, Quinton Howden, Morgan Riley, long list of players. It's special, and you watch with a little bit more interest. The years that you don't have a guys on Canada, you kind of focus maybe somewhere else. Last year here at Moose Jaw, the Warriors had, you know, Martin Rysavy on Czechia, which won silver, and Robert Bacco was with Slovakia, so we were pretty focused in on them. And it's always a little bit more extra emphasis on the teams that your guys play for.
Well, you know, we've been talking with Craig Button on this show about introducing Team Canada to the nation. Everybody knew who Connor Bedard was and some guys on that team. This team isn't as heralded, and they should be. So tell us about your guys on Team Canada from the Moose Jaw Warriors. Not only what type of players they are, but what kind of people they are and their backgrounds.
You know, I'll start with Warrior captain Denton Matejchuk. I think going in to the World Junior Selection Camp, Denton was probably as close to a lock as you could probably find. I know I'm biased. I've watched every play that Denton has played in the Western Hockey League, and I have no problems, in my opinion, saying that he is the best defenseman in the Western Hockey League. I mean, he moves well, he thinks the game well, he plays physical, he plays every situation, even strength, penalty kill, power play, and he's an impact in every single situation. He was one of the last cuts made by the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was that close to cracking an NHL roster at the start of the year. So we were fortunate to have him come back to Moose Jaw. He played 24 games for the Warriors, and he had points in 23 of 24 games. He was on a 23-game point streak as a defenseman, which is no easy task. You know, and Denton off the ice, great kid. Right, all these guys are great kids. You know, Denton growing up in Dominion City, Manitoba, athletic family. You know, his brother, you know, baseball player. He's got two younger brothers that are both hockey players as well, and a sister who's pretty athletic. So it's an athletic family. You know, Jagger Furcus. Jagger's a guy that I think, you know, outside of Moose Jaw, people in the Western Hockey League have been getting to know over the past couple of seasons. He hasn't been involved with Hockey Canada in the past. This was his first crack. And, you know, on the ice, he can be electrifying. We've kind of coined the phrase here in Moose Jaw, the Furcus Circus. He can do some pretty magical things with the puck. You know, he thinks the game well. You know, very offensively charged coming in on the wing. Off the ice again, he is one of those guys that I've really enjoyed getting to know. You walk into the room and he's the first one that says hi. He wants to have a conversation. He wants to talk to you about adult things, which I enjoy. When you deal with 16 to 20-year-old kids, it's nice when you have a player that wants to talk about adult things and life, which is really nice. And Rod, he's probably got the best flow and the best mustache for sure in the Eastern Conference. It pops when you're a redhead. So it's pretty good on that. And, you know, Braden Yager, that's not wrong. I can say that, can I not?
No, you're good. No, of course. I want to see it. That's all.
Oh, it's beauty. And then, you know, Braden Yager, I think, you know, Braden is a guy that, you know, he's out of that special 2005 age group here in the Western Hockey League. Of course, that's the same year that Connor Bedard went first overall to the Regina Pats in the WHL prospect draft. We were thankful that Braden Yager fell to 3, and that's where the Moose Jaw Warriors picked. Great family. I've known Braden since he's been 15 years old. Really enjoyed getting to meet him and getting to know him a little bit better. Off the ice, just an outstanding individual, really involved in our community, which is great to see. On the ice, he has a commitment to play 200 feet. And I think, to me, that's what makes Braden a little bit special is, sometimes the elite guys, they want to go forward, right? They want to score goals. They want to set up goals. Braden has that commitment, not only going north, but he's got a strong commitment to coming south. And I think when it comes to the World Juniors, with Braden, he can play down in the lineup, which is really key. He's a high-octane guy. He's an elite guy. He's a great penalty killer. Jagger Fergus and Braden Yager have teamed up for 5 shorthanded goals as a duo on the ice together on the penalty kill. So I think all 3 obviously have had an impact in their time here in Moose Jaw, and I think all 3, if they're able to play to their potential, will garner a lot of national celebration because they all have the ability to impact the hockey game.
Well, listen, I said you're a Strasbourg boy. Is it your dad that's from Winnipeg, or were you born in Winnipeg?
No, I'm first generation Canadian. My dad was actually born in Italy. Came over on the boat, transplanted in Winnipeg. I was born in Winnipeg along with my brother, and then grew up in Strasbourg. You betcha.
Okay, I got it right then.
I
don't
publicize a lot that I'm from Winnipeg, Rod. I kind of keep that a little bit of a dirty secret, but especially here in Saskatchewan. But still very proud of my Winnipeg roots.
You can't slip it by me. You can't slip it by me. And I got to say that, you told me once, and I remember it forever. And the reason I bring that up is the Winnipeg flavor on this team. And I meant to bring it up with Craig Button. I didn't, but I'll bring it up with you. Like, there was the snubs of past World Junior teams of Zach Benson, Matthew Savoy, Connor Geekie, and now they're all invited to the camp. So finally, and just in time for the Ice to leave town. But I would think as excited as the Moose Jaw fans are for this Team Canada, I would think Winnipeg hockey fans are too. I would hope anyways.
Yeah, they should. I mean, fortunately, I've been able to watch those 3 grow up, but unfortunately, I've had to watch those 3 grow up because they've beaten the Moose Jaw Warriors in the second round of the playoffs the last 2 seasons. They're special guys, right? Zach Benson, to me, is like, he's really unique, Rod. I'm not too sure if you've had a chance to watch him live, but watch him in warm-ups.
Oh yeah.
And to me, that's where you see how good Zach Benson is, because he doesn't float, right? He's not floating and going through the routine and warm-ups. It's hard. Everything is hard. He's driving, when they're doing the line, everything is hard. And that's what makes him special. Huge fan of Zach Benson. I think Matthew Savoy, arguably could be considered the best player in the Western Hockey League. And, he's that good, right? Connor Geekie has turned himself into a really good power forward. And actually, Connor Geekie and Denton Matejchuk, good friends growing up, played baseball together, so they're good buds. But those 3 guys that played for the Winnipeg Ice, obviously, 2 of them with Wenatchee now, and 1 with Buffalo, that being Benson. They're special players. They're really special players, and I think just as Moose Jaw's trio can have a big impact, so can those 3.
Actually, I should apologize. I said Benson is at the World Junior Camp, and I know that he's not. He was just playing for Buffalo this week. But you know what? That's the one thing about Zach Benson. So he never got the World Juniors invite at all. If he was in the dub, he'd be there this year. There's no doubt. But he's always been in Bedard's shadow. Are you guys happy Bedard's out of the league? You must be. I'm sure you were getting tired of hearing about it.
You know what, Rod? I think we heard a lot about it. I mean, I think if I had a penny or half a penny that every time that you said Connor Bedard, I would never have to work again.
How about that?
So, how about that? So I think, I think for me, Connor is a great player, and play for Moose Jaw or not play for Moose Jaw, I have an appreciation for other great players to watch. Jordan Eberle was the same way, right? Jordan Eberle was a great Regina Pat. In my mind and in my time, I would put him probably at the top of Regina Pats. That's how much I enjoyed watching him play. I think the fans enjoyed watching Connor Bedard, probably more specifically in the second half of last season. But he's a great talent, right? Anytime that you can say, I watched him and I only had to pay $25, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, listen, before we
got going on this interview, I asked you, we got a few minutes left here, and then I'll let you go. I see that you're struggling. How's the throat, man? You didn't get much of a break over Christmas? Are you struggling a little bit with the voice or no?
Rod, I got 2 kids. I'm yelling all the time.
Okay, gotcha. And 20 kids.
and I'm Italian,
well.
Rod. So the temper goes pretty if I'm not yelling, I'm knocking people out with my hands at the dinner table. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. So no injuries sustained at Christmas dinner.
How big is the Italian community in Moose Jaw? I was telling the people earlier you're my favorite Italian in Moose Jaw, but I think you're also the only Italian in Moose Jaw. Am I right on that?
You know what? There's 3 that I know of. Me and my 2 daughters. As far as I know, Moose Jaw's got a great, and it's a big Greek community, which it's pretty much the same, which is kind of nice. But as far as I know, there's only 3 Italians, and all their last names are Gallo.
Right, perfect. So we were talking about Martin Rysavy, and I have no idea why that came up earlier this. I must have been reading a score sheet or reading something on the air, and I'm like, he's still there? Martin Rysavy feels like he's been a Warrior for 10 years, and you told me that he set a record for longest import. And the reason I bring it up on our World Junior special is that he is a World Junior vet too with the Czechs, right?
Yeah, he was with Czechia last year. They won silver. I asked Martin about that last year. Stanislav Svozil, of course, with the Pats last year, and it was like a national holiday when they won silver. Usually in Canada, it's lose gold, but in Czech last year, it was win silver. And Martin, in my time, and that's almost 25 years with the team, there's been no 3-year imports. Coming at 18, 19, and now 20, it is unique, especially for our organization. And I think you're seeing it more and more, right? I mean, and you want the best players in your league. You want the best players on your team, and an opportunity to have Martin come back for a 3rd year. Why not? I mean, he loves the community, loves the team, loves his billets. He just likes everything about it. And I think when a guy cares like that, that's a big factor.
Yeah, no kidding. Just on the Furcus Circus, was it him or Jagger? I want to Say Jagger. Did he break Theron Fleury's rookie goal-scoring record last year?
Braden Jagger, when Jagger was 16 years old, so 2 years ago, he broke Theo Fleury's. I guess then it would have been a 38-year record for most goals by a 16-year-old. So Braden was eventually in the WHL and Canadian Hockey League Rookie of the Year. So it was a pretty magical year. 30+ goals. I don't think many of Theo's records are going to fall in his time here with Moose Jaw, but that was one of them. And we actually talked to Theo, and he was so excited for Braden for doing it. I think they've kind of developed a friendship that started at a golf tournament a couple of years ago. And, Theo was leading the charge, hoping that Braden would break the record, and he did 2 years ago. It was great.
Yeah, he was. And the reason I bring that up is because Theo would be, I shouldn't speak for Moose Jaw Warriors faithful, you do that, but Theo would be the greatest World Junior Warrior ever, right? And I guess I was with him. It was 2 years ago when Jagger was chasing that record. And you're right, Theo was cheering him on, and he wanted to see it go down. And in that time, Theo's like, I got to, him had an upper in, and he was like, I gotta see that guy play. I got to see that kid play. And by now, I assume that he has. Theo's the greatest World Junior ever, right? For a Warrior.
You know what? Him or Braden Point, right? I mean, in my time, there's 2 guys when you talk about greatest Warriors. I think it's 1A, 1B, depending on kind of when you grew up in Moose Jaw. And, Theo kind of takes one part and Braden Point takes the other. They're really special players, right? I mean, it's kind of 2 small guys that battled and, prove the doubters wrong. You don't have to be 6'4" and 215 to have a successful career at this level and at the next.
How do you say it, James? Buon Natal?
Buon Natalia.
You know what that means? Okay, Buon Natalia, my friend. Yes, thank you for the time. I look forward to seeing you next.
Thanks a lot, Roddy. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Enjoy the sunshine. You look tanned as usual, and looking forward to seeing you next time here in Moose Jaw.
Thank you, bud. The voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, James Gallo, helping us out on our
annual World Juniors preview. We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the annual World Juniors Special. Hope you're enjoying our analysis, and most of all, I hope you're enjoying the hockey this holiday season. Let's bring in the Moose, Darren Moose DuPont. It's fun because Craig Button talking on this show about him remembering his first ever World Juniors memory was Wayne Gretzky. To be honest, I thought Craig was older than that. Wayne scoring, wearing number 9 in the Montreal Forum for Canada. Craig Button was there. I think he said he was sitting behind the net as a Montreal Canadiens season ticket holder. It was like, wow. Whatever the year was, 78, 76, something like that. I want to say my first World Juniors memory, and of course, I'm a broadcaster, so I remember the broadcasters, but I want to say it was Brian Williams, Don Cherry, sitting in the panel, the Piastani punch-up, the punch-up in Piastani. We're all watching the game live, and all of a sudden the brawl breaks out, and Fleury, of course, is on Team Canada. That's like my first memory, and that was mid-'80s. You literally weren't even born yet. And then from there, to me, that put it on the map. And then we had it in Regina in 91. Lindros, Mike Sillinger was on that team. 94 in Red Deer gets talked about a lot. 05 in Grand Forks, my dad was there, and I remember him coming back going, "You got to see this rink, the Ralph Engelstad." My dad's the greatest rink you've ever saw. Only got 30 seconds. I talked it all. What's your best World Junior? Yeah, 90 seconds. That's what I thought. When did the World Juniors come on your radar, Darren?
Yeah, it was back in the Paul Romanuk days, doing play-by-play in the full cages and bubbles they used to wear. Those are my early memories, right? It's not a specific one, but it's those World Juniors, the full cages, going crazy, and Paul Romanuk on the play-by-play call. So they come a long way, but there's always good memories of the World Juniors and the different players that we watch.
Any iconic players jump out to you and performances?
I mean, I would have watched Eric Lindros and then Jerome McGinley and those guys play at the World Juniors. And then, really loved the teams that had Jordan Tutu starring on them and Steve Downey. Those kind of guys were always a lot of fun to watch. Mike Camilleri, really good World Junior player. So lots of good memories.
It is great. It's why it's special. People that don't get it will never get it. But I remember sitting in a restaurant in Cranbrook, BC with the Pats, watching Eberle score the 2 goals on the way to winning silver that year, I believe. Yeah, because that wasn't even the gold medal game. Darren, thanks. Appreciate you. Everybody, it's the World Junior Special on Game Plus TV, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, Let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of Patrick Roy are you? I'm an 11 out of 10, and the literal translation of Roy is king. Part of the reason I love him so much is that we are very similar, and my guess is the book on Patrick Roy would be very similar to what the book is on me. He's uncontrollable. My dad would be proud of that fact.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome inside the RP Show. A very special episode, and happy holidays. If you're just joining us now, it's our annual World Juniors Hockey Championship special here on the RP Show, your favorite daytime sports talk show. And we're coming at you, as always, on the Game Plus television network, where they're big junior hockey, World Junior fans all across Canada. We air in 31 U.S. states. And also WQEE Radio in Atlanta. We're Atlanta's NHL show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live. Let's bring in Darren Moose DuPont as we roll. We've been doing this every year, and I got to tell you, a huge thanks to producer Clark, who puts this together every year. And star-studded guest, Darren, as always. Craig Button in Hour 1, TSN's Director of Scouting. He'll be calling the games at the World Juniors in Sweden this year. James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. You and I covered the fact that there's a big Moose Jaw Warriors flavor to this Team Canada team this year, as opposed to the Regina Pats flavor. And Sammy Cosentino coming up this hour of Rogers Sportsnet. He talked about Macklin Celebrini, number one prospect for next summer's NHL draft. I'd like to get your take on this. He says, and he's right, Sammy, that he's not a household name now, but he will be when these World Juniors are over. I'll be honest, man, maybe it's because I live in Florida now, but the kid does play college hockey in Boston, Macklin Celebrini. He didn't come onto my radar until Sam brought him up like a month ago to me. So he's not coming in with Connor Bedard hype to these World Juniors.
No, he's not, and a highly, somewhat highly touted NHL prospect, but not a Connor Bedard, not a McDavid, not a, guy who's supposed to be penciled in as a generational talent, but he's got things that you don't think matter, but he's got a catchy name, Celebrini. That's going to be something you remember. And when he's in the action and leading Team Canada, you're going to fall in love with him really quickly. This is what I talked about in Hour 1. Like, we don't know who we're going to fall in love with. We all might be Braden Yeager fans. Cover your ears. I know, Rod, you're a big Pats guy, but you might be all over the Moose Jaw Warriors center. And we know him as kind of the Robin to Bedard's Batman, coming out of the Bantam draft and into the Western Hockey League, kind of overshadowed. Now he's got the stage to himself on Hockey Canada and Team Canada. So I think that's pretty cool. And then the other one is the goaltenders. 3 goaltenders who aren't household names, but one of them you would think is going to step up and become that, or needs to become that. So that'll be interesting to see as this tournament goes along. They'll probably split a couple of the first couple of games here, as we'll see. But one of them is going to step up and take the net. Be interesting to see who does that.
Canada's 3 goalies are Samuel St. Hilaire, Scott Retzlaff, and Mathis Russo. You're right. That is a wonderful story as the tournament goes along, who wrestles away the number 1 duties coming out of the pre-camp competition, which reminds me, by the way, just before Christmas, we had Scott Laughlin on from SiriusXM NHL Radio, and he asked me if I was concerned that Canada's World Junior team lost to the University All-Stars, and I was like, not one bit.
but I got the sense from Scott he was quite concerned. And I'm like, I don't know, exhibition's exhibition to me, man. No, not for 1 second am I concerned about that. Were you?
No, and to be honest, I mean, yes, that second game on that Wednesday before Christmas, what was it, the 13th or the 12th, but 6-1 losing to the University Sports All-Stars. That's a little shocking in the number and in the way that game went. But look, they're basically 500. I think the all-time record in these games, since they've had them the last number of years, is 13 wins for U Sports and 12 wins for Team Canada. To be honest, I'm surprised it's that close. The U Sports All-Stars should probably, not have their way with Team Canada, but they should be expected to win. They're older, more mature. They all played at a really high level major junior, some of the best major junior players who never went on to the NHL. And I think university hockey in Canada is maybe the best hockey that's not the NHL, or some of the best hockey outside of the NHL and the American League. So, no, that doesn't concern me. No matter what happens in pre-tournament games, Canada, USA, Russia, Sweden, Finland, they're all good. Russia's not going to be in the tournament, but they all play well. We used to think of the Subway Series, CHL versus Russia. We always had our way with the Russians every year in that. And Russia showed up in the World Juniors. So, no, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, anything that's not with nothing on the line, should you put, other than pride, you shouldn't put any stock on it, in my opinion. I'm actually surprised all the time that it's 500. Like you say, that doesn't surprise me, or around 500. So, odd, but maybe not odd. I'm reading from a Wire story here. Canada doesn't have any returning players from the 2023 tournament who are currently in the NHL, with Connor Bedard, Chicago, Adam Fantilli, Columbus, and Kevin Korchinski, Chicago, all playing big roles for their teams. Matthew Poitras, Boston, Zach Benson, Buffalo, and Shane Wright, Seattle. The other eligible players playing professionally have yet to be made available by their teams. I want to get into that with Sam Cosentino next. What do you think is the reason now that NHL teams aren't loaning their potential World Junior stars to their countries? It's not just Canada, but could be any country. Used to happen all the time. Doesn't happen anymore. Why do you think that is?
I think the game is more of a short-term business than it's ever been, not long-term. I think there's so many good hockey players that you cycle guys in and out if it's not working out. So you don't want to, risk injury. We saw what happened with Kirby Dach. He went back to Canada at the World Juniors and he got hurt. You don't want to risk injury, and you want, especially if guys have signed their contracts to play in the National Hockey League and are playing games, you want to take advantage of them playing games with you, as opposed to having them go back and playing somewhere else where they could get hurt. It does nothing to affect your team today. Yeah, it might, the experience might make for better players down the road, but I think we're looking a lot more short-term in the NHL than we are long-term like we maybe used to.
Well, we'll be putting that question to Sam Cosentino coming up next segment. We'll see what he says. Again, from the Canadian Press Wire, something else to be watching for. Not just that Winnipeg connection that we talked last hour. Winnipeg Ice, now Wenatchee Wild. Connor Geekie and Denton Mateychuk were rivals. Then they were teammates. And not long after that, best friends. A bond forged inside Manitoba's arenas and on the province's baseball diamonds brought the pair close as they challenged, pushed, and supported each other. Now they sit on the cusp of making another much bigger memory. Geekie and Mateychuk are among 30 hopefuls who attended Canada's selection camp for the World Junior Hockey Championship. And, of course, they ended up making the team. Geekie grew up about 250 kilometers west of Winnipeg in the town of Strathclair, while Mateychuk's from Dominion City, which is definitely not a city, roughly 90 kilometers south of the provincial capital. The duo suited up on opposite sides in minor hockey during the frigid prairie winter, but were teammates for the sport's spring season. Geekie, a 6'4", 197-pound center, had a little edge at the 2022 NHL draft, going 11th overall to the Coyotes. Mateychuk, a 5'11", 191-pound defenseman, went next at number 12 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they're not teammates
in junior, but they're teammates with Canada and lifelong friends. I feel like Manitoba is the biggest, most well-represented province at this year's World Juniors, unless I've misread it. That's the sense that I'm getting.
It feels like it, and maybe I got to go back through the rosters and look at this, but it feels like a very, Manitoba group. And then when you look at, the former Winnipeg Wild players, Wenatchee Wild, whatever you want to call it, I think Winnipeg and Manitoba as a whole still has attachment to those guys. So that's what's cool about this too, is you get the representation from all over Canada and all these different communities. Get to, have pride for who's on this roster. And I think that's always what makes this tournament so much fun this time of year.
I should bring up that the coach was asked about it, Alan Letang, about the two's relationship, and he said, quote, makes for good TV. They're close, and I think it pulls more guys into our room. So just as far as this leadership management group goes, Alan Letang from Renfrew, Ontario, currently the head coach of the Sarnia Sting, and he played 14. Did he play in the NHL? No, he did not. He was an 8th-round pick of the Montreal Canadiens in the 1993 NHL draft. Born in 1975 in Renfrew, Ontario, Alan Letang. Yeah, here it is, the last 3 seasons, Sarnia Sting, and before that, Owen Sound Attack. Peter Anholt, our longtime friend, general manager of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, is the de facto GM. I don't think that's the name they use for Hockey Canada, but any thoughts on this leadership group, as they say, taking Canada into the World Jays?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see, how they do and what Canada looks like from an identity standpoint. But I always trust the group that they put together. I think for the most part, they've been pretty spot on. So interesting to see how Letang does as the coach. But, whether it was Alan Miller in the past or now Peter Anholt, the Western Hockey League is always represented at or near the top of the organization, the organizational structure. So I don't doubt that they made some really good choices.
Yeah, the quote from Peter Anholt regarding the cuts coming out of the selection camp. Peter Anholt, the title is the lead member of Canada's management group, said of conversations with the cut players, hard decisions. They're good players. They're here for a reason, but we did the work. We've gone through the process. It's always hard to let players go that are 19 years old. They handled it like pros. You expect that. That was from Peter Anholt, and I guess we got less than a minute here. But pressure, man, I'd love to. I'll talk to Peter when he gets home. Pressure on all these guys. You got to win gold. Doesn't matter you've won the last 2, right? They better win. That's a lot of pressure.
You got to win. The pressure's always there, and when you're in Canada, it's gold or nothing at the World Juniors.
I'm learning a lot down here. Somebody quoted Dale Earnhardt recently. Second place is the first loser. So it's not Ricky Bobby. Dale Earnhardt says that you better win or don't bother coming home. Okay, Moose. Thanks. Enjoy the hockey.
Thank you.
Sam Cosentino of Rogers Sportsnet and NHL Network joins us next. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our annual World Junior Hockey Championship preview here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, and, of course, the streams. And it was a fun hour one, as we heard from Craig Button and James Gallo, and we keep it rolling. Our friend Sam Cosentino joins us, hockey analyst, prospects analyst, and it is literally Christmas for him, Sammy, right? The World Juniors are on in Sweden. We got a lot to talk about, and this is how I'm starting the interviews. Excitement level 1 to 10. How are you for this year's tourney?
I'm about a 9, I would say, which is pretty normal for me. I mean, you know, I guess the 10 excitement level for me would be if I had the opportunity to call it, like you and I did way back in 2012 on radio. That opportunity doesn't present itself. So being able to watch it and still watch a lot of the kids that I grew up calling games for, that I've seen throughout the draft, and getting the opportunity to watch how they've grown and developed and see how they represent their countries still gives me plenty of room for that 9 rank.
Hey, you and I forever linked, along with Andrew Walker, as the last year on Sportsnet Radio of the World Juniors. Remember that, everybody. 22 is the last year it was ever on the Sportsnet Radio net. We made it what it is today, Sammy. Listen, the last time you and I talked, we talked about the number 1 pick for next year's NHL draft. You said Macklin Celebrini, and to be honest, I feel like that was the first time I'd ever heard his name. I'm not a scout. I'm not a prospect analyst like yourself. Is he leading the charge? Is he the guy? He must be for Team Canada this year in Sweden.
He is a guy who, you know, through the under 18s had 15 points. That's, you know, a mark that's only been touched by a few. And this is a guy who plays it in all 3 zones. This is a guy who's had a massive amount of success before making his way to Team Canada with 25 points in 15 games as a freshman at Boston University, which is really, really difficult to do, especially coming off a shoulder issue in the offseason. So he's an unbelievable 3-zone player. There's a dynamic element to his game in terms of his shooting ability. but there are a lot of subtleties to his game too, in terms of stripping pucks, bodying guys in the right position, taking away lanes, taking away space, taking really good routes defensively and on the backtrack. So there's a number of things that this guy can do. And, I think I said it in my first rankings back in October. I think he goes wire to wire as the number one guy, and that for me is not going to change.
Yeah, no kidding. So a no doubter. Let me ask you this. It's another year without Russia. Darren DuPont brought that up last year, and it's disappointing. And I guess it's not something that is going to change or we can do anything about. But how's that affected this tournament? I got used to them not being here, but that's probably not right.
No, and listen, the Russians are competitive in every event that they go to, and they're still going to events, albeit not sanctioned by the IIHF. And not really necessarily too far outside the borders of their country. But they make the tournament better. They always do. They play an up-tempo game, a lot of really skilled players. They tend to kind of rope-a-dope their way through the round-robin portion of the tournament, the preliminary round of the tournament, and they always end up, being in the conversation for a medal. So from a pure hockey perspective, there's no question that this tournament misses them. Their addition to the tournament helps balance things. When you think about, you got Canada, US, you got Sweden, Finland, you got Slovakia, Czechia, and then you would have Russia, and there really is no counterpart after that. So, you're looking at 7 teams that would be in contention each and every year with their inclusion into the tournament. That moves to 6, and if you have an off year in Slovakia or Czechia, now you're talking about 5 teams. So they dramatically influence the balance of power in the tournament. They dramatically influence the skill level to the negative side of things when they don't participate, and they definitely take away from the drama of the event by not being there, especially with a rival with Canada. They seem to have a pretty good rivalry with just about everyone. Sweden going back to our days, with Finns. And of course, Czechia always and Russia seem to play good games as well. So they're missed from a pure hockey perspective, no doubt.
Yeah, I could talk to you about this forever, but we're tight on time, so I'll move on to this. Craig Button said last hour, I believe he said USA and Sweden were his picks coming in. But I'm like, I talked to everybody. I can't remember what everybody says. If it was USA and Sweden, do you agree with that? Who do you think are the favorites in this tourney?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no Leo Carlsson for Sweden. Of course, that's difficult. No Logan Cooley for the U.S. Of course, that's difficult. But there's still plenty of holdovers from both teams. NHL drafted players. You won't see quite the high-end draft-eligible talent on those two teams, which is a good thing because usually, age tends to win out. It is a 19-year-old tournament. And so when it comes to those two groups in particular, they've got a lot of age, a lot of experience on their side, and a whole lot of skill for both sides. So I would definitely agree with that assessment. I'd probably put the Americans just slightly ahead, but not by much.
When and where and why did it change that NHL teams aren't loaning their players to the World Juniors? I feel like Alexis Lafreniere with the Rangers was, to me, right around there, but it just doesn't really happen anymore. Why not?
Well, listen, in the National Hockey League this year, we're pretty lucky. I mean, you have Connor Bedard. There's no way he's getting loaned. He's just a star. You have Kevin Korchinski playing on the same Chicago team, who's a bit of a surprise to make and maintain a spot in the roster, but the guy's playing 18, 19 minutes a night. Now you look at Zach Benson. He scored. He's a guy who continues to play well for the Buffalo Sabres. You look at Adam Fantilli. I mean, they're leaning on him heavily in Columbus, playing in a key position at center for a team that actually needs him in the lineup. So I think if you're looking at this year in particular, you're looking at a number of guys who've had so good of an impact for their clubs that it's hard to deny them. You have to deny them the chance to go and play for Canada at the World Juniors. And oftentimes, and I think in particular in the case of Fantilli and Bedard in particular, let's say they were struggling along and their teams were going to loan them. I think if you ask the players themselves, they're looking at themselves as National Hockey League players. And as prestigious an event as it is, it's not something you get paid to do. I think those guys are used to receiving the paycheck that if they had the option, they'd probably still choose to play in the National Hockey League. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a slight against Canada. I think it's a sign of maturation and a sign of graduation, if you will. We're not in that scenario, Rod, so that's not something that we really have to worry about. But in the grand scheme of things, players aren't being loaned as much because they're too helpful for their respective teams, number one. And number two is a lot of times those players are still on their entry-level deals. In fact, all the time they're on their entry-level deals, and we know how important that is, especially in a salary cap situation.
Well, I'm glad I asked because I just initially thought they didn't want their guys to get hurt, but we see Bedard centering the top line. You mentioned what Fantilli's doing. Logan Cooley is single-handedly saving the Arizona Coyotes. That's a whole other conversation as to why these young kids are so impactful on an NHL team. That's just wrong. But that's the way that it is, Sam. That's just the way that it is.
That's the way. The game's going younger. The game's going cheaper on, whenever possible. And so, those guys tend to fit that bill. Now, get them while they're hot now, because the next deal for Connor Bedard, the next deal for Fantilli and Leo Carlsson and Logan Cooley they're going to be significant deals.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, here's another one, and just a few minutes left. We're going to wait to see who the household names become off this Team Canada team. But when you and I were calling the games, there's a name that keeps coming up a lot. It was Jonathan Huberdeau from the 2012 Canadian team. And in that game, I talked to Ryan Huska about it this summer. As you know, he was an assistant coach on that team. He's now the head coach of the Flames. That comeback against Russia that fell short. Man, those were great times. And I guess, who do you expect will become the household names? Or is that why we love the tournament so much? It's too tough to predict.
Well, I think we have a couple of guys. I mean, Celebrini is going to be a household name, and it won't be long. I think you're going to see, by the end of the tournament, I think you're going to see some pretty like an increased hype on him. From those that maybe just dabbled around the fringes, don't get to see NCAA hockey. I think Tristan Luneau is a name that you'll probably get familiar with. 7 NHL games with Anaheim previous to the tournament and being loaned back by Anaheim. He should eat a boatload of minutes back there for Canada. And then if you just kind of go down the list here, if I'm looking at someone like Oliver Bonk, son of Radek, you're looking at Fraser Minton, NHL games with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matthew Savoy, got into his first NHL game with the Buffalo Sabres, Connor Geekie, another former Winnipeg/Wenatchee guy, is a first-round pick of Arizona. So I think you have a number of guys in this team that you look back 5 years from now and you're going to say, wow, we got an opportunity to see those guys well before they were stars in the National Hockey League.
No doubt, no doubt. How are we doing, Clark, on time? Should we let Sammy on his way?
Yeah.
90 seconds? Okay, 90 seconds, 2012. It's amazing that Ryan Huska would still remember who scored the goals, let alone how that went down, Sam. That semifinal against Russia was just rank for Canada in the sold-out Saddledome, right? One of the highlights of my life.
Oh, yeah, no, that was super cool. And you know what, Rod? You can't discount the championship game, the goaltending performance by Russia, Zibanejad, winning it. I think it was a 2-1 game, if I'm not mistaken, but nowhere near what a 2-1 game would indicate in terms of chances. I mean, there were chances all over the place in that game. So pretty cool that we had the opportunity to do that. That will, that's a career resume thing for me and a bucket list thing that I and you and I were able to do.
It was awesome and got to know each other's families. By the way, that ended a 30-year drought for Sweden to win it, and Zibanejad scoring at overtime. Man, I get chills just thinking about it. Sam, happy holidays. Thanks for always helping us out on our World Juniors preview, and the best to your wonderful family here this season.
All right back at you, Roddy. Really appreciate you having me on. Happy holidays.
Sam Cosentino, Sportsnet and NHL Network. Our preview continues after this timeout on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902 518 3033. 902 518 Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You're hearing it a lot. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Andy Williams sang it. And while a lot of people talk about the Christmas holidays, they also talk about the World Junior Hockey Championship. And joining us to talk about it is our good friend Stephen Ellis. I got to make sure I got it right. Associate editor and prospect analyst for the Daily Faceoff, co-host of the Puck Poolies podcast, and joins us now from Ontario. What's going on, Stephen? Merry Christmas, brother.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, and I'd much rather be on that boat right now than looking outside at the pouring rain that we've had for a few days here, but, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, well, hey, what's great is we're talking hockey no matter the temperature, and a little birdie told me that you have been specifically covering the USA hockey camp, the tryouts for the World Juniors. Is that true? What? Tell me all about that.
So luckily, I was at Canada's camp first, and they practiced about a 5-minute drive away from where I live, so that made that easy. So I was there for the 4 days, and then I went to Michigan for a little bit to go watch the U.S. camp. So, I'm not going to be going to Sweden. I'm going to be covering it from home this year. We got some Swedish guys going out to help us instead, but it's always good to catch up on these guys, and you hear a lot of interesting stuff when you get to talk to the scouts that show up to these training camps. So it's a good time.
Well, buddy, you're cut from the cloth of the old school. That's why I love you so much. Bob McKenzie said it. I think it was on this show. I said, Bob, what do you tell the young reporters? He goes, if you want scoops, go to the rink. If you want to score goals, go to the net. And Steven, you go to the rink. So what do you want to? Yes, that's the old school way of doing it. So what'd you learn down there at USA camp?
Well, Owen Allard is a guy that a lot of scouts are going to be keeping a close eye on. And he was kind of, if you looked at Canada's pre-tournament or selection camp roster, I think a lot of people looked at him, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds player, and thought, why is he here? He's not putting up a point per game. He's not doing anything spectacular over the Greyhounds. But a lot of scouts I talked to really kind of penciled him in as not only a lock to make the Canadian team, and he did end up making it, but also as a guy that could really impress as a potential, third-year eligible prospect because he's so good defensively, so quick, and he does all that so well. He's one of the best OHL players in terms of being a defensive forward. So that's a guy that when you're cutting Jaeger Furcus, who's one of the top scoring players in the CHL, and you're cutting Denver Barkey, who was probably Canada's best forward outside of Macklin Celebrini in those 2 exhibition games last week, that says something when they're bringing him there. So he's the guy that a lot of scouts are kind of interested in.
Keep going. Keep talking. Tell me more. What else did you see and learn down there?
Well, the USA one is interesting. You may not know about Sam Hillebrand. He was an undrafted goalie prospect. But the thing that really excites me there is that he was playing junior C hockey last year in Ontario for the Stainer Siskins. They play in the PCJHL, which has 61 teams. So I'd say there's quite a few hockey teams in there. About 200 people go to these games. Not a lot, but he had a perfect record, won every single game he won for that. They played for that team. He shared the net, didn't end up getting in the final playoff games when they did lose, but unbelievable goalie. Goes and he's playing with the Barrie Colts this year. He's looking great. I don't think he gets drafted as a third-year eligible, kind of a guy that was completely off the radar, but we do know from reports that Andrew Oak, who was the third goalie the last 2 years for the World Juniors, he declined the opportunity because USA's goaltending is way too good and he wasn't going to get a start. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that Sam Hillebrand, this guy who was playing again junior C hockey, like essentially the 4th or 5th year, depending on where you're looking at in Ontario, is playing in this tournament as the third goalie for the Americans. That's a cool story.
Yeah, and I apologize because a lot of people are afraid to ask dumb questions. I'm not. I got to be honest. All through the fall, Florida Panthers training camp and the start of the regular season, it was all about Mackie Samoskevich. My God, if I had a nickel every time I heard Mackie Samoskevich, who almost made the team. He's from Newtown, Connecticut. He's in Charlotte now. Why have I not heard with him with the U.S. World Juniors like ever? Or did I and I missed it?
Well, he's too old. He was too old 2 years ago, so it's been a few years for him. But he was on that junior team in 2022 when they played in the summer.
Okay, gotcha. So not eligible for this year's team, but still young. Okay, I got you. So we've had Craig Button on this show, and he said USA and Sweden the favorites for this tournament. Do you agree or disagree with that?
It can't go wrong with those, although I would almost put Canada as probably the second best team. Now that we know they've got Matthew Poitras there, that's a big one. Having him with Macklin Celebrini and Matt Savoy, they've got some really good offensive weapons there. I think, the one thing to keep in mind with the Swedes is very talented team, and they've also played together a few times this year. They've made up mostly of guys that played at the U18 World Championship the past 2 years, which is essentially the World Juniors for guys a couple years younger, and they went to the gold medal game in the last 2 years. So that's a good sign for them there. They've got a lot of those guys there. The issue with the Swedes is, can you ever trust this team? Every year at the World Juniors, they're always one of the top teams, and then they seem to fall flat when it matters. And we saw that against the Americans last year too in the bronze medal game. I think though, home ice, a lot of pressure, but it is a group that should contend for a medal, no question about it. But the Americans are about as strong of a team as we've seen in a long time. And it helps that they were also in those same 2 gold medal games that the U18 World Championship players were on. We're looking at a team that didn't bring Cole Eiserman, who's one of the top prospects for the draft, to camp, and then cut the top 2025 prospect, James Haggins, when a lot of people penciled him in as a top 6 player for this team. They got so much scoring depth. They got the best goaltending in the tournament, and their defense is considered their weakness. And they've got Lane Hudson and Seamus Casey, 2 of the best defenders in college hockey. So it's not really an issue there either. So this is a stacked team that should go out there and win. Sweden's looking good. Canada's looking good. If I'm going to give like an off the board team that could maybe surprise, Slovakia put a lot of teams on notice last year with how they played. Even without Slavkovsky, even without Simon Nemec, this is still a pretty solid team. So I'm not saying they're going to go out there and get a medal, but if any of the smaller teams is going to really push, the Slovaks.
Fun question to end it. The guys that are playing in the World Juniors now are going to end up playing World Cups, Olympics if the NHLers get there. You must have seen the debate on Spit and Chicklets where Ryan Whitney says the USA will walk on Canada in future international competition, and Biz said not a chance. How do you feel about that? Because you cover this regularly. It's your job. Is USA becoming the dominant world hockey superpower or not?
They're definitely closer than they've ever been to being among there. I think the one thing people kind of forget of Canada is, let's say we're playing in 2025, 2026. You're looking at forwards that are going to be, assuming they would stay at center, you're going to get Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon as your centers. And then you've got Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, all these guys that could play such important roles for this team. I think the one thing the Americans definitely have an advantage in is goaltending, and then definitely on defense too. If you got Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox as your top pairing, that's like ridiculously good. But Canada's, I think people kind of just discount Canada because it's the top team. You kind of always expect big things, and when the other teams start to catch up, there's that. But it's probably the closest Canada and USA have ever been to being top teams in international hockey, and that's exciting to see. Because you look at the Americans, every year at the World Championship, they never win. They're at best they're coming third. They've never come first or second, so it's kind of a difficult thing for them. But the juniors program continues to churn out quality talent that if you were to put best on best, Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, like the level of talent on that team is something I don't think the Americans have ever had. So it's too bad we aren't being able to show these guys off every 2 years or every 4 years. It's stupid. It continues to get stupid. I kind of like the idea of the 4-team thing just to get international hockey. But at this point, why don't we have every 2 years Canada USA rivalry series like the women's hockey? Like that'd be awesome. And we've never had a series like that on the men's side. That's something I hope if we're going to get anything, let's get that.
We had a few in the 80s, and it was spectacular. Stephen, happy holidays again. Great job. Great answer. Enjoy the hockey and keep in touch.
You too. And don't forget the Spengler Cup. Another great tournament to watch right now.
Gotcha. The great Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff, good friend of ours, great guy, knows his stuff. We'll be right back with a sports update and audience takeover right after this, and some special messages have come in on that Sober Carpenter text line. We'll get to those right away. Live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for our final segment of our World Junior Special, which we do every year. This is year 5 here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, and streaming. And we truly have saved the best for last. Let's bring him on screen now, the great Fleury, who we've got a lot of kudos and plaudits for, a guy who played in the 1987 and 1988 World Juniors. And Theo, I'll say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you. And maybe you may or may not be surprised to know James Gallo, the voice of the Warriors, anointed you earlier the greatest Warrior World Junior player ever. So congratulations, Theo. How's it feel?
Good to see you, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you too. Interesting thing was, the first year I went, was kind of surprised. I went to, where were we, in Ottawa, I think, and I surprisingly had a great camp, and Mike Keane was there with me, and we both made the team, and we went to what was it, Slovakia, I guess now it was, but it was Czechia, I guess, where we were. And, we ended up brawling the Russians. So it was an interesting start to the World Junior, but definitely the following year was probably, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite championship you won? And I always tell them it's the World Junior because it's the greatest hockey tournament in the world. And so the second year I went back with Greg Hoggood and Jimmy Waite, obviously, was from the year before. I was named captain of the team, and back then it was just a round robin. There was no, quarterfinal, semifinal, final. So it was just a round robin. And so basically at the end of the tournament, and because we got disqualified the year before, we had to play all the tough teams first. And so we ended up playing the Russians, our third last game, in the same rink that Paul Henderson scored the goal in 1972. and the Russians had a line of Fedorov, McGillney, and Bure was their top line. And I think we had a line of Recchi, Graves, and Robbie DeMaio that we put out against them, and we beat them 3-2. And I think we had to play Poland and Germany the next two games, so we had to win those two games in order to win the gold medal, which we did. And it was an amazing tournament. It was an amazing time, and like I said, one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
As I look, well, for different reasons, because there was a bit of a theme here, and it's special to you, it's special to me, it's special to every Canadian World Juniors. Like, for instance, Craig Button was on here earlier, and I said, when did the World Juniors first come on your radar? He said 1976. He's sitting in the Montreal Forum in their season seats, watch Gretzky score, wearing number 9 for Team Canada. La-di-da-di-da. Mine was the punch up in Piastani, cheering for you. As a Pats fan, we've been over this, but you're playing for Canada at this event, so I'm cheering for you. And to be honest, that's when the World Juniors really first came on my radar. Not that I'm that much younger than you at all, but have you ever watched the tape, Theo, of the brawl? Because they came back in between periods, and Brian Williams was like, he didn't know what to say. None of us had ever seen anything like it. So remind me of the punch up in Piastani, please. You're right.
He chose his words the wrong way. He labeled it a disgrace and all this stuff, but he had no clue, I guess, what was going on in the regular season over in the CHL, because there was either a brawl or a 5-on-5 line brawl every single night in the Western League. So thank God for Don Cherry. He stepped in, and Harold Ballard actually had some medals made for us that I still have somewhere in a box somewhere. But it was, the Russians had no chance of winning. They had their worst World Junior tournament ever, and we had to win by, I think it was 4 goals in order to have a chance at winning the gold medal, which we were well on our way of accomplishing that. I actually scored 2 goals in that game. And but it was, it was chippy, it was dirty, it was nasty. And, I wasn't at all surprised, what happened at the end of that game. And probably we had picked, one of the toughest World Junior teams we'd ever assembled at that time, and that wasn't our first brawl of the tournament. We actually had training camp in Switzerland, and we brawled one of the top teams in Zug. We had a brawl with them. We brawled the Americans in warm-up that year, and then we kind of topped it all off with the brawl against the Russians. So weird, crazy stuff happened. That whole experience.
Yeah. But this is literally like the who's who. I'm just looking. Well, that was 87. And 88, I'm just looking at this. Modano, John LeClaire, yourself, obviously, McGillney, you mentioned Fedorov. That was like just the talent assembled. But you're talking about 87. So let me say this. Did I refresh my memory? And people won't know this, but the people that were running the rink started turning the lights off because they didn't know what to do. Who would have thought that was a good idea, right? To turn the lights off in a brawl.
Well, and when they turned the lights off, the refs ran off the ice. So there was nobody out there, So it was, it was a wild experience, let me tell you.
Could the Russians fight?
No. And like I said, we had some tough guys on that team, I think if you look at the tape and you see Keener, Like, I guarantee he hit that Russian guy 70 unanswered. Like, 70 unanswered. He was just like, oh, yeah. And, yeah, it was, I don't know. But you could still see a little bit what was going on, on the ice. And, it's interesting. Every single year, around this time, I get calls, hey, can I give you a call and talk about the brawl? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about the brawl. I want to talk about what happened the year after, and that 1988 team, we never get mentioned ever at the World Junior Tournament on TSN. We never get mentioned at all, and it was we had 12 first round draft picks. Joe Sakic was I believe he was our fourth line centerman on that team, and we never get mentioned. It was the third World Junior Championship that, Hockey Canada had won, and we won it in a very, hostile environment. We were in communist Russia, and, for us to come out of there with a gold medal was, it was wild. And, guys weren't even eating. Guys weren't even eating the food. And so they had to fly over a crate of craft dinner so that guys would actually eat something over there. And so not only were we playing in a hostile environment, we were malnutritioned and, and everything, but, we overcame all that adversity and beat probably, one of the best Russian teams that they had ever assembled in the World Junior.
Well, I'll tell you what, because we're running out of time. We got about 5 minutes, not even. Next year, we'll talk more about 88 because and give it its due. And I appreciate you talking about the brawl here today because I didn't expect to go this deep in it. But this is what people don't understand. They would look at this Canadian roster from 87, by the way, Theo. Thank you for shedding the light on 88. But 87's a sexier topic. People would go, Pat Ellenuk? Yeah, Pat Ellenuk, Foam Lake, PA Raiders, like David Latta. These are guys that nobody knows. We know, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, there's Pierre Turgeon. Pierre Turgeon,
Yeah.
Brandon Shanahan, Steve Chason, Luke Richardson, me, Keener, Everett Santapass, all great hockey players. There was great Scott Metcalf, old Buffalo guy, Sabre guy.
Glenn Wesley,
some really good players. Yeah, Glenn Wesley, yeah, and then Jimmy Wade and net. So it was a great team.
Glenn Wesley, Portland Winterhawks. God bless them. Hey, we just have a couple minutes left, but I'm interested to know, you said you have a special relationship or a close relationship with Braden Yager, who the scouts have called the next Nathan McKinnon. I don't know if you agree with that or not. He broke your rookie scoring record in Moose Jaw, and I love that. You were cheering for him to do it. You're obviously cheering for him real close at the World Juniors.
Yeah. Well, I met him a few years ago at the Warrior Golf Tournament, and just said, if you ever need somebody to talk to, if you're struggling or whatever, here's my phone number, give me a text or give me a call. And so, we've kind of developed a cool relationship over the last couple of years where I just text him and check in with him every once in a while. And, as soon as he made the World Junior team, I got a text on my phone and, he's really excited and looking forward to it. And, what a great place to be in Sweden. Sweden at the World Junior probably doesn't get much better than that. So, and obviously he's a goal scorer, and in a World Junior tournament when you get hot, that's important. And I can see him being a one of those game breakers for Team Canada. When the games are close, he has the ability and the talent to to whip one in and get Canada the win.
Well, as you said, and we're into the final minute here, how is Jagger Firkus not on the team? But I guess we couldn't have three guys from one team. If that's happened, it's rare. But that just, again, speaks to your talent being part of 2 teams on a very tough roster to crack. Theo, we got to run. I appreciate you so much. I learn so much from you every time we chat, hockey and otherwise. So Merry Christmas again. Happy holidays to your crew. Elle, your spoiled fur babies. Theo, keep in touch. All the best in 2024.
Yes. Thank you very much. Enjoy the World Junior.
Thank you, pal. The great Fleury, the greatest warrior of all time. And as we point out, there really isn't any competition for that one. But always happy to have him help us out. And always happy to have you folks tune in and join us for this World Junior Special. Enjoy the hockey, as Theo said. We'll see you next year here on the RP Show. Who has more fun than us?